welcome back to the Altar of Madness. Earlier, I had done a music review, over Nine Inch Nails' album, The Downward Spiral. So I've been wanting to do another music review, but music is kind of hard to really put into words. And secondly, I couldn't really decide on what album, because I listened to a lot of music, a lot of albums, and then I just decided, okay, I did Nine Inch Nails, I did The Downward Spiral, so I kind of wanted to do a video that did an album that kind of complemented that. And so I decided on the band Skinny Puppy. Okay, it's a band that's not really hugely popular, mainstream, and an album from 1988. This album kind of complements The Downward Spiral, actually vice versa, because this album and this band actually paved the way for Nine Inch Nails and other bands like that. I mean, it was a big inspiration on Nine Inch Nails for sure. You got to think, this is 1988, so this is the one album that I think is the quintessential Skinny Puppy album. Of all their albums, this is where they really hit their peak in 1988, and this is their fourth album. So they'd been doing industrial music, more true to the industrial type of music, before Trent Reznor was even wet behind the ears. Not dogging Trent, but this is just one album that I wanted to talk about. And so 1988, Skinny Puppy released an album called Vivisect 6. And in the title, Vivisect 6, you've got VI, VI, 6, VI. So it's kind of combining vivisection, the act of, doing surgery on living animals or humans, but, animals to vivisection. Plus combining that with the whole 666, Satanism, but they're not a satanic band. Let me get that across right now. They're not satanic. One thing I want to say before I go into kind of a track-by-track description, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, Skinny Puppy is not one of those readily accessible bands that if you're looking for like a hit single or something like that, something you can easy listening, that you can put on and, chorus, verse, chorus, automatically, it's more in-depth, industrial. And Skinny Puppy never was looking for a hit single. They were never looking for mainstream success. They were just looking to make the type of music they wanted to make and get their message across with the lyrics. Now, Nivek Ogre, the vocalist of Skinny Puppy, it's kind of an acquired taste. You may listen to some Skinny Puppy songs and they may not hit you, may not click right away, because it is an acquired taste vocally, but with the music and how it is, plus the vocals, it really works out great. So let's talk about this. And this album, let me put this into perspective. Vivisect 6 came out. This is their fourth album, like I said, and it was right before they released an album called Rabies, where Al Jourgensen from Ministry kind of, in Rabies, he kind of took over a little bit and changed their sound up. Caused quite a bit of attention in the band. Yeah, so let's go with the first track here. And I'll try to make this as short as possible. The first track, Dog Shit. Okay, that's what it was called. It was later released as a single. Wasn't the main single, but they called it Censored. because Dog Shit was, So, um, it's basically a build-up track. It's the first track, and automatically you can tell this isn't an easy listening track. This is not going to be an album that you instantly fall in love with, because you might fall in love with it, you might really like it, but to compare it to like Nine Inch Nails, no. You can already tell with the first track. It builds up. It's like a 3-minute track. It builds up even after the first minute. It's a good opener. But if you just listen to that track, you're not going to get the full sense of the album. This album, I think you need to listen to all the way through. And I want to say the next track, VX Gas Attack. I'm going to post a video link in the comments. The description for people to see the video and the song. This track is great. There are a lot of tempo changes. Keep in mind this is pure not pure industrial as it was before them. With the other bands that really kind of spearheaded the genre. But they were experimenting with synth and drum and bass and different techniques to create music, and this chaotic style of the album is really shown in VX Gas Attack. The tempo changes, really, it has a political statement. Skinny Puppy has always been a band that, they from the get-go were very political in their lyrics, politically minded in some of their lyrics. And VX Gas Attack is one of those songs. It's about the Iran's getting attacked by Iraq with chemical weapons that we sold them after Reagan's election. And it actually is a really good song that you could actually dance to it. I kind of find myself listening to this track and just I've heard it so many times, and this album so many times. That track really sticks out in my mind as the best song. VX Gas Attack, you'll find yourself maybe even if you listen to it enough, it does have a catchiness to it. When you first hear it, no, without a trained ear to it, you may not notice that, but it is a really solid track. One of my favorite Skinny Puppy tracks of all time. Next track, you have Harsh Stone White. This has a lot of synth. It has it's not as heavy on the drums. It's a darker song. It's more of a mid-tempo track, which is really cool. I really like that track a lot. Human Disease. Human Disease, I can find myself singing along to some of these lyrics. Even though Nivek Ogre, his lyrics are a bit different. Not just his vocal style being, he can go from screaming to emotional, which he did, emotional vocals in Harsh Stone White, but to spoken word, to raspy whispers. And screeching, so he does a variety of things with his vocals, and but in Human Disease, you can, I do find myself singing along to his lyrics. The way he phrases his lyrics is completely unlike any other vocalist I've ever heard. In Human Disease, yeah, it's a bit noisy and catchy, and as the Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails had layers upon layers, this album does too. But this is way before Trent's time. This is when he was just starting out, The next track, Who's Laughing Now? This is a more straightforward track. Nivek Ogre's vocals are a bit different on this one. It's not so profound. It's not screaming and a lot of screaming. It's more toned down, raspy type of vocals. There are a lot of effects on his vocals too. Distortion and stuff. The next track, Tester. This is like the Skinny Puppy Anthem track. It's about vivisection. It's an anti-vivisection song against vivisection. It was the first single. They had singles, but, not many people really, they're not popular. They're not popular. Ask anyone if they ever heard Skinny Puppy's Texture, and not likely going to happen. But it's a good track. It's very even more synth driven, very melodic, and it's a good track. Some may say it's a little bit outdated because it's heavily on the synth, but I like that. I like it. I don't think it's outdated. I think it holds the test of time. State Aid is the next track, track 7, and this is a pretty heavy track. It's got this part where Kevin Key, another member of the band, he goes off on, and it's programmed drums, but it's like machine gun drums. So it's got that electronic element, but it's really aggressive and not my favorite track. But Hospital Waste, the next track. This track is amazing. The way it starts out, it is synth laden. It has got a lot of drum and bass experimentation. The bass lines are really prominent. It starts off with a bang. This track is really catchy. It really is. It may not be upon first listen to someone who's not familiar with Skinny Puppy, but Hospital Waste is really, really good. Now the last track, and I say this is the last track, Fritter, Stella's Home. It's a closer track. It's just like an outro, sort of. It's a 3.5 minute track that's kind of pretty disturbing. They have, sampling from different horror movies. Obviously, they've done that throughout the album in certain songs. But Fritter, Stella's Home, the last track, is solid. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a full-blown song as you would expect a normal song to be. Any of the songs actually are very abnormal to what you would expect from, like, if you're looking for pop music, if you're looking for really catchy tunes that, are in your head but they're really annoying later. This album, really, it may take some time to listen to it and get familiar with Skinny Puppy, the vocals and the music, but this is, in my opinion, the best representation of Skinny Puppy. This is where they hit their stride, as I said. I said it's the last track because they did a reissue in 2006 or something, and added 4 additional tracks, which really I think are kind of filler tracks. So I wanted to review very quickly here the actual original release. And I must say, my favorite tracks have to be number 1, VX Gas Attack, Hearthstone White, Human Disease, and Texture, and Hospital Waste. But I usually, when I put this album on, I listen to the entire thing from beginning to end. So I think it's really, really a solid album for Skinny Puppy. Probably not the first album you'd want to listen to if you're interested in Skinny Puppy, the band. I would recommend the Singles Collect. The Singles Collect was a compilation of their singles throughout their entire career, and some remixes of singles. I mean, the singles that were on the album, I'm obviously stripped down, but I think that's a good starting point. Great starting point for Skinny Puppy. If you've never heard Skinny Puppy, you would probably want to start with that. If you're interested in any other albums, bands that are, kind of industrial but not mainstream, not pop styled or, radio friendly, I would recommend, first of all, Frontline Assembly Tactical Neural Implant. That album and the albums before that too. But that's my favorite Frontline Assembly album. And Wumpscut, Embryo Dead. And the couple of albums before that too. But Wumpscut, Embryo Dead, and Ministry. I really love Ministry. It's more guitar laden, industrial. But, Psalm 6-9. Psalm 6-9 or The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste or Land of Rape and Honey. I mean, but Psalm 69 would be a good starting point there too. Industrial music is pretty much dead. I will say it is dead. It's not what it used to be. What is industrial? You know, there's a documentary about it. Metal Machine Music, I think is what it's called. I would recommend that for a full history of the industrial movement. It's not what it used to be. Now you've got a lot of EBM, electronic body music, and you've got techno and trance and all this other stuff. But I think this album really, Vivisect 6, really definitely epitomizes the industrial genre at its peak. I mean, that's just my opinion, but so, I mean, in this album, actually, I think it's one of their best albums for sure, along with Too Dark Park. Too Dark Park, the album that came out after Rabies. Rabies was in between these two, so Too Dark Park is also another good one. But I think, like I said, I don't think this would be an album you'd want to start out listening to if you'd never heard of Skinny Puppy. You might check out the song VX Gas Attack or Texture, but VX Gas Attack I think would be a good start. The sampling, in that song, the lyrics, the tempo changes, everything in VX Gas Attack I'm in love with, and I already named off my favorite tracks on the album. But that's about it. Tried to get that across as quickly as possible and not make another huge 20-minute video. Some people may not like Skinny Puppy if they give it a shot. You know, it kind of is an album that grows on you. I mean, it's not an album that you're going to listen to and, you know, the songs are so catchy and formulaic that you are so tired after repeated listens. There's a lot of replayability factor in this album. And I just want to throw out Skinny Puppy and mention them and mention, you know, since I talked about the Downward Spiral and Nine Inch Nails, I think this is a good video that would complement it. And that's all I've got to say about Skinny Puppy. And yeah, Vivisect 6. Check it out or not. This is just my opinion. And this is just what I wanted to talk about. Until next time, prepare yourself for more craziness, more madness at the altar of madness.